Almost 40 years ago, 4 decades ago, Thomas Sankara, the then president or the first revolutionary president of Burkina Faso, has visited to Russia, the then USSR, and now after 40 years, the second revolutionary leader, I would say, of Burkina Faso now has visited Russia. There are some common things still that we can compare and contrast their visit, both Thomas Sankara versus Captain Ibrahim Traoré. What did they ask at that time? What kind of support Thomas Sankara needed from Russia, and what kind of support Captain Ibrahim Traoré is looking for from Russia? And, what are the background for that? For example, the contemporary world political situation now and then. These are the things I'm going to look at. Hello, I am Mahlet, Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent, and particularly as we follow what's happening in the Sahel states to televise the revolutionary, because in our generation, the revolutionary will be televised. Let's get into it. So just for you to, to show you picture-wise, that is Thomas Sankara meeting the then president of Russia, and the other one is Captain Ibrahim Traoré meeting President Putin, okay? Here is the thing. Wait. Yeah, so Burkina Faso and Russia, now this is revisiting Sankara's 1986 visit and Traoré's recent alignment with Russia. In 1986, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara visited the Soviet Union to forge diplomatic ties aimed at countering imperialism and fostering self-reliance for his nation. Now, meeting with Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev, Sankara thought he looked for support for Burkina Faso's anti-imperialist agenda, emphasizing economic and military cooperation to break free from Western dominance. Now, nearly 4 decades later, Burkina Faso's transitional President Ibrahim Traoré is deepening ties with Russia under President Vladimir Putin, echoing Sankara's vision while navigating modern geopolitical challenges. Now, during his visit in 1986, Thomas Sankara, he held talks with Gorbachev and then the foreign minister, Andrei Gromyko, and the president himself, Gorbachev, culminating in a Soviet Burkinabe declaration on cooperation. The delegation toured Moscow, just like what Captain Ibrahim Traoré did. They toured Moscow, Leningrad, and Frunze, focusing on military training and economic aid to bolster Burkina Faso's revolution. Sankara, a Marxist-Leninist and Pan-Africanist, criticized Western imperialism and sought Soviet support to reduce reliance on French aid, which he viewed as neo-colonial. He advocated for African unity through the Organization of African Unity, the then OAU, now the African Union, to resist imperialist manipulation, warning that global conflicts, like the Cold War's nuclear risks discussed at Reykjavik's summit, directly threatened small nations like Burkina Faso. However, concrete agreements were limited, with the Soviet Union providing modest military training and equipment as Sankara prioritized non-alignment and self-sufficiency. Sankara's vision was cut short in 1987 when he was assassinated in a coup led by Blaise Compaoré, allegedly with Western backing. That's not alleged, that is evidence backed. So it was backed by France and then also, with its accomplice, Ivory Coast. So that was cut, and after 1 year of his visit to Russia, Sankara was assassinated. Compaoré reversed Sankara's policies, aligning Burkina Faso with France and the US, and racking up a 4.3 million ruble debt to the USSR by 1989. This betrayal stalled the anti-imperialists' momentum, leaving Burkina Faso entangled in neo-colonial structures for decades. That is for 4 decades, okay? Or 35 years or something. Fast forward now, 2022, Ibrahim Traoré, at that time, 2022, a 34-year-old captain, seized power in a coup, reviving Sankara's anti-imperialist legacy. Traoré has openly condemned Western neocolonialism, expelling French troops, and turning to Russia for military and economic support. At 2023 Russia-Africa summit, Traoré met Putin for the first time. That's when Captain Ibrahim Traoré went to Russia. Now, praising Russia's historical role against Nazism and securing 25,000 metric tons of free wheat with weapons and attack helicopters. In 2023, Burkina Faso reopened the embassy of Russia after a 31 years closure. And Russia pledged a nuclear power plant and personal security for Traoré. By 2024, Russian flags were waved in Ouagadougou, and at February 2025 agreement saw Russia deploy 100 troops to protect Traoré, with 200 more planned, signaling a strategic pivot from Western partnerships. Now, Traoré's alignment with Russia mirrors Sankara's outreach, but it is more pragmatic, driven by urgent security needs against jihadist insurgencies. While Sankara sought ideological solidarity, Traoré emphasized practical alliance, rejecting IMF and World Bank aid, boosting GDP from $18.8 billion to $22.1 billion through initiatives like gold refinery. However, critics warn over reliance on Russia, citing parallels with Moscow's roles in Syria and Central African Republic, and question whether Traoré can avoid the pitfalls that doomed Sankara. Now, first of all, the context is different, because meaning than when during Thomas Sankara and Ibrahim Traoré's time, because at that time, there was already independence, but the independence was just by paper for Burkina Faso. Still, Burkina Faso was relying on French aid, in which Thomas Sankara was against, and that's what he wanted to cut off. But he was also a Pan-Africanist, and he believed in the dreams and, things that the then Organization of African Unity stood for, in which this Pan-Africanism introduced by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So he did measures by himself, but he did not get those support, as the support of Russia at that time was limited. So still the hands of neo-colonial powers like France was so much into Burkina Faso, so they removed him. He was assassinated by a hitman, Blaise Compaoré, who became a president after Burkina Faso, after Thomas Sankara's assassination. By the way, he was Blaise Compaoré was the deputy of him even when Sankara was a president. And there was no jihadist, but he was fighting neo-colonialism. But at this time, for Traoré, there is an active war, the war that is called terrorism. It's not terrorism, as he said recently in Russia, it's terrorism which has sponsors committing really a crime in the Sahel states by training them, providing equipment. Those terrorists today, they fight, having technological weapons like even drones so the thing is that, and there are evidences that are being caught red-handed. Those things are sponsored by the West, and namely also one of it is France, and neighboring countries are again serving as a Trojan horse for the colonial power. So their situation is different, but there are some things that which are different. For example, at that time Sankara was still trying to achieve self-reliance. Now, Traoré has achieved that. There's even a difference in 2 years. In 2023, in July, when he was in Russia, he received hundreds of thousands of metric tons of wheat. Now, he said it in the bilateral meeting, even we can hear it, to President Putin, that he said, I am not here for wheat donation. We don't want that. We have a surplus of it, but we want support in security, but in security, not just to buy weapons or to get it through donation, but we want a technology transfer so that we don't have to come year to year to ask for this kind of help. So we want a cooperation that you can, meaning Russia can train the Burkinabe youth, and he in fact suggested and proposed for Burkina Faso to be a hub in Africa for such training, so that other African youth also can get that military science education and be able to produce those weapons in Africa, in Burkina Faso, because he said we have all the resources to produce those weapons. That's what he said. And if Traoré is able now to defeat those terrorists, I think that there will be no repeat of that history, where he will be. Yes, we know that there were a number of attempts of a coup or assassination against him, but now Russia is also in a different position, meaning it is capacitating the government of Burkina Faso in terms of security and personal security of the president. So Russia, both Burkina Faso and Russia are economically, they are on a different level. So I think that matters. And also, we are in the midst of where the African people are awakened. And during Thomas Sankara, there was no such awakeness across the continent, forget globally. So now people in the continent, African people globally are awakened, and they are following, not daily, on hourly basis, what's happening in the Sahel states, and particularly in Burkina Faso. He is the most searched person right now on internet. In all languages in the world, content makers are translating and introducing that to the people. It has in fact surpassed. It's no more a matter of Black people. there are also people of other race who are talking about him in Middle East, be it Arabs or Asians or Caucasians or Latins. They all are talking about Ibrahim Traoré on hourly basis. So we are in a different era, and I think all this will help Captain Ibrahim Traoré to win this war over these criminals who are sponsoring terrorism, and then that's why I think I argue the result will be different this time. And of course, all of us have a contribution to make this heard, to know to share the video, to share the information with others, so that people know about this. Thank you very much again for tuning in, and let us know in the comment section what do you think of comparing that era of Thomas Sankara versus Traoré and its relation Burkina Faso as a country with Russia. Do you think the result of the fate of Ibrahim Traoré will somehow be, I don't think so, like Thomas Sankara? If yes or no, why? Because those reasons will help us to build further discussions on this. Thank you very much again for tuning in. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and hit that notification bell. You can support us through our PayPal account and buy me a coffee link. You can also donate us through Super Chat and Super Thanks. Ciao, ciao.